Before I start talking about roller compacted concrete, I like to kind of qualify and give my qualifications to give this discussion whatsoever. We have about 8,710 lane miles in the Brownwood District. 14.6 of those are concrete pavements. So if you came to this presentation wanting an in-depth theoretical discussion on roller compacted concrete and the chemistry and the engineering that goes into it, I hate to disappoint you, but this is the wrong presentation. So with that, we'll get started. For those of you that are wondering, that is not roller compacted concrete. And that is not roller compacted concrete. But given a little bit of the history on this project and where we're using it on some I-20 safety rest areas in Eastland County. We've got two locations. We've got an eastbound and a westbound location. The acreages are there, 42 and 51 acres. We let the contract in October of 2012 for roughly $16 million. J Mills Contracting got the job, and time began in February of 2013. This is our eastbound site, and I put this on here just to give you an idea of where we're using the RCC and why we're using it. Okay, this area right in here is the truck parking area. This is the pedestrian vehicle parking area. The decision was made to make all of this parking area the roller compacted concrete for obvious reasons, for longevity, just the fluids leaking out of the vehicles, things like that. We felt like it would hold up and give us a longer pavement life. This is the westbound location. This is right at the crest of Ranger Hill for those of you that have driven I-20 east and west through Eastland County. Again, here's the entrance ramp into the safety rest area. This is all truck parking. This is going to be vehicle parking. The contractor set a batch plan up on site. This is that location right here. And and then that's the exit road going back to I-20. This is our pavement section. It's a 12-inch lift of roller compacted concrete over 5 inches of cement treated base and 5 inches of cement stabilized subgrade. We did an alternate bid on this job because there's not a whole lot of contractors that have done this in the state of Texas yet, so we really weren't for sure how many bidders we were going to have on the job. We bid it against a continuously reinforced concrete parking lot. Those are kind of the bid tabs, $16.4 million. There was only $11,000 difference between the low bid and the second bidder. The second bidder did not bid the RCC alternate. So you can stress out trying to figure out why the actual total contract, or the actual from the bid tabs, the price breaks down to about $112,000 difference between the RCC and the continuously reinforced. But, contractor obviously put his money in different places in their bid tab. Okay, so briefly, what is RCC? RCC is a mixture of well-graded aggregates and cementitious material and water, so it's concrete. It's proportioned with a high percentage of fines. It's almost a 50-50 blend of your fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. It's stiff enough to remain stable under vibratory rollers, but it's wet enough to permit adequate mixing and hydration of the cement. Okay, RCC is not zero slump conventional concrete. RCC is placed out of an asphalt paver. It's compacted with a combination of rollers, and you get final compaction within 1 hour. And it's constructed without forms, dowels, or any reinforcing steel. And if you're like me, that was kind of my facial expressions when I first heard that and trying to wrap my mind around what exactly RCC was. This slide just kind of shows the usage in the United States. It's not necessarily an innovation process. It is new to the state of Texas, but it's been being used in Canada and the logging industry and different places in the world for quite some time. Okay, the special spec we used was 3258. Just some important items on that. You have a 28-day strength of 4,400 PSI. It does have some pay reductions down to a break of 4050, which is a 15% pay reduction. You determine your optimum cementitious content by plotting compressive strength versus your cement content, and you need your mixing plant within a 30-mile haul of wherever you're placing it. Additional important items, you get 90% compaction right behind the screed of the paver before you ever put a roller on it. That's in the spec. Contractor has to submit a paving and joining plan for the department to review. And you want, again, the final compaction within 60 minutes from mixing. It's got the ride quality spec from 585, and the contractor fixes that by diamond grinding if he has any areas of localized roughness. And you do 1-inch cores to check the thickness, and they can take pay reductions down to 3/4 of an inch. I put this on here. It's kind of hard to see, I'm sure, but this is a paving plan that the contractor submitted. So he's going to back up, start paving, pulling these long passes. And I just want to call out these little fillet areas in here, and I'll talk about them a little bit more here in a second. But it's something to kind of consider if you're ever considering RCC, is where you're using it and the dimensions and the size of the place you're placing it. We had a detail in the plans. These fillet areas, contractor has two options. He can pave past and just waste this material, or he can stop short and dowel in and just use your CPCD 94 dowel spacing standard sheet to fill in those areas. Our operation being 12 inches thick, one of the things that made it more difficult was it's a 2-lift operation, and the contractor has to have final compaction on that second lift within 120 minutes of starting the bottom lift. So he's having to run 2 pavers. Like Michael said, we have actually started laying some now. We started last Wednesday with it. This is a picture of the first day's operation. The first mat had already been placed. This is it. They're coming behind with their getting their final mat put on here. I mean, pretty straightforward operation. The trucks run up, dump into the transfer device, put it into the finished paver, and you've got your steel wheel rollers back here, and these guys back in the back are getting ready to put the curing compound on. That's a picture of the mat. As you can notice, he's walking on it. You don't leave any footprints in it as you're coming across it. It's that stiff. That's a close-up of the 2 layers. This is our bottom mat. It's kind of hard to get your scale. This is the bottom mat. There's about a 6-inch step over, and then we're coming in with the top mat. Okay, this is just, I had one of our lab guys pose for a picture so I could to get one to put in here, but he is making the cylinder molds for our strength test. You use this hammer to pack the concrete in there, push them out, cure them like you would a regular cylinder. All right. That's it for me.